It is Monday, December 1st, 2025, and it's time for a reality check. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Lizabeth, and I am living in the light by documenting my journey to living a more healthy lifestyle. I have lost a lot of weight. I am continuing to lose some more. I've had ups and I've had downs, but by documenting this, it really does help me. It holds me accountable. And I know that a lot of you are really interested in my journey and how you can apply some of the principles that I'm learning to your own journey as well. If you've been around for a while, welcome back. I would also invite you to subscribe to my channel if you have not done that already. It really is the easiest way to support me and this channel, to help it to show up on more people's feeds. And also, believe it or not, every time you like or share or even post a comment on a video, it really does also help that to show up for other people who may not have discovered me yet. So I hope that you will do those things and that you will continue to share and support me in my journey. But let's talk about this week. This past week was Thanksgiving week. And for those of you who have been around the last couple of weeks, you know that my choice when going back to Optavia this time is to have a little bit more grace for myself and for family, and to not follow the program 100% for some holidays and some different times. I'm also doing a kind of a 6-week on and then a week or so off. I have just been on for 3 weeks, so I did kind of take the Thanksgiving weekend-ish from really Wednesday through Sunday, but not completely off. I still ate fuelings. I just allowed myself to make a few little choices, and I'll tell you how that affected my journey in just a minute. So let's talk about this week. So Monday and Tuesday, great days, stuck to the plan. Wednesday, again, stuck to the plan really well. Went to a retirement party for my brother-in-law, and they were serving fajitas, so that was really good. I had the fajita meat with the veggies, some salsa, some guacamole. Didn't have the rice, didn't have the beans, didn't have the tortillas, had maybe 3 chips and salsa. Just kind of tried to keep myself as close to plan as possible, even though I knew, there were some choices that I was going to make. And I knew, and I will say this going into this, I knew that it was going to throw me at a fat burn. So I knew that I was going to have to eventually get back to following the plan 100%. But like I said last week, I need to have grace for myself, and I need to have grace for my family, and to make sure that I'm not making this all about me. This time of year especially is really about family, and making sure that I was focused and in the moment and not feeling like I was separating myself from everybody else. So that was kind of my choice. I will also say that I don't highly recommend that you make the same choice yourself, because it really is difficult to get yourself back on plan mentally. When I went through Optavia the first time, staying on program 100% is really what kept me successful. If I had deviated every once in a while, I think it would have been much harder for me to have the success that I did have. And so I know this time around is probably going to be a little bit more difficult, because I am making those choices to step off of plan here and there. But that was Wednesday. I did have 3 bites of cake, and gave the rest to my husband so that I didn't eat anymore. So it was like, take those bites, push it away, and then it's not sitting there in front of me. But 3 bites, that is a great rule to follow, because it does help you to stick to the plan and get the taste and satisfy a little craving, and then move on. So now Thanksgiving Day, I started out with my fuelings in the morning. I was doing a few things around the house, and then we didn't celebrate until Friday. So Thursday I went to my daughter's house. I hadn't seen her in a while. And so we spent the day, hung out. She lives really close to my husband's fire hall. So at dinner time, we went over to the fire hall and we had hamburger steaks and green beans and then mashed potatoes and rolls. And so I did have some mashed potatoes. I did have a roll. Again, choices off plan, knew that, but still the focus was on the meat and the green beans, and that was like the majority of my dinner. And so I was still making really good choices with a few little bits off plan, no dessert, and that was fine. Came home, we were supposed to have Thanksgiving here on Friday, but David came home from the fire hall really sick. He had started with a cold on Wednesday. It just progressively got worse. And so he came home just absolutely miserable. And I had all this food for Thanksgiving. So I packed everything up in the car, went to my son's house and cooked Thanksgiving there so that we could have our family meal, sadly without David. But we had a good Thanksgiving. And my choice for that day, I ate Fuelings in the morning and really, was drinking my water, eating my Fuelings. And then for dinner, which we didn't eat dinner until 7 o'clock that night. That was really late. I usually eat at 5. And if you know me, you know that I'm usually in my bed watching YouTube videos at 7 o'clock. So this was pretty late for me. But I had mostly turkey, and then I put a small spoonful of all of the sides. So I did a roasted sweet potato, carrot, and butternut squash dish, green bean casserole, mashed potatoes, like just all of the traditional stuff. And I took little bits of everything. And probably, my plate was pretty full, but I probably only ate about half of what was there, mostly the turkey. Like I ate all the turkey because that's really good protein. And then I probably had 1 to 2 bites of most of the rest of the stuff on my plate and didn't eat. My plate was still half full of food when I finished eating and didn't have dessert. First of all, we ate so late. And second of all, I was so full I had no desire for dessert. So still made some choices off plan, but a bite or two, and just kind of moved on from there. And then Saturday morning, I did have apple pie for breakfast, but then I was back on and had Fuelings the rest of the day, had turkey and green beans for dinner that night. And then yesterday, I was mostly on plan all day. I did have, I was still feeling really hungry, and I think that's part of kind of being out of fat burn is I just was kind of snacky, and so I had a couple of extra kind of snacks throughout the day that were still like high protein. I did some Quest cheese crackers, which are really good, and I had some protein pretzels. So I did try to make healthy choices that way. I didn't go crazy and eat chocolate chip cookies and things like that. So I did manage to still make fairly healthy choices. But today we are back 100% on plan. Let's do this. Saturday, I did my plan for the week. So I posted that on Facebook. I'm going to show it to you here. This is something that I do every single week. I make a list the day, and I write out every single Fueling that I'm going to have that day. That helps me to plan ahead. I will always put those Fuelings into Ziploc bags for the week to make sure that I just pull out the bag for the day and I know ahead of time. It also does help me to pre-plan if I'm going to bake a bunch of Fuelings and get them pre-made. I can kind of pull Fuelings and have those prepared as well. And then I also plan for my lean and greens. And what is so important about that is I can then take those recipes or those meal plans. Sometimes it's just as simple as cooking some chicken and some frozen broccoli on the stove, and it's simple. And I'm doing a lot of that this week, just to make sure that I am back on track and I'm not spending a lot of time in the kitchen. It just really helps me to have those easy lean and green meals. But by having those, I can then make my grocery shopping list. Now this week, everything that I needed, I have on hand, and that's one of the reasons why I did that. Super simple, didn't have to go to the grocery store. I've got lots of frozen vegetables. I've got lots of meat in the freezer. I don't need a lot of other things, but because I have a well-stocked pantry and freezer. So that is something that I wanted to talk a minute about and how that can help you to be more successful. So having a well-stocked pantry is incredibly helpful. And if you look at my grocery list, you'll see that I have it divided in sections. I've got proteins, I have produce, I have dairy, seasonings, canned goods. I've got just different sections on my grocery list, and that helps me to keep myself organized. It also helps me to find things in the grocery store. So if things are typically in sections, it makes it a lot easier to grocery shop. But I do like to keep my freezers well stocked. We do have 2 chest freezers and an upright freezer because my husband's a hunter, and we also will sometimes get like a quarter of a cow, half a pig. So we do have like a well-stocked meat freezer. I always make sure that I buy big packages of chicken breasts when they're on sale, whether I get them at Costco or at the grocery store. I will always have chicken breasts. Boneless skinless chicken thighs are also something that I always keep on hand. I'll buy pork loin and I'll cut it into chops and I'll freeze those in sections. Salmon, I will buy a side of salmon and cut it into sections and freeze that. So I do have lots of proteins on hand. Frozen vegetables, super healthy for you. Have those green beans, broccoli, cauliflower. Those are the typical ones that I have on hand all the time. Costco has a couple of mixed vegetable options that are really great that I also keep on hand. And then produce, that's something that I don't keep a lot of that on hand. I do tend to buy that weekly, but there are some things that will hang out for a while, like onions, which we don't use a whole lot of in Optavia. Peppers are pretty good for a while. Cucumbers, lettuce, tomatoes, those types of things. If green onions are on sale and they look really good, I might buy several bunches of them and cut those up and throw them in the freezer. Those are really good to have on hand as well all the time. For dairy, reduced fat cheese, especially when it's on sale, I'll buy a bunch of that and have that. It will last for a while. Yogurt, Greek yogurt in place of sour cream or light sour cream. I'm really happy with non-fat Greek yogurt in place of sour cream. I find they taste very similar, so will have that. Laughing cow cheese, a lot of people are really into that, and if it's on sale at Costco, I might buy a package of it. My husband likes to have it on crackers as well, and so I might buy that, but you guys know that I don't put a lot of condiments on my fuelings. I don't put condiments on my fuelings. And so laughing cow cheese, unless I'm using it in a recipe, like that chicken and mushroom recipe that I did a while ago, I don't have a lot of that, but I do usually have some of that on hand. But let's talk about seasonings, because I think this is where a lot of people really fall short. Don't buy seasonings you don't like, but everybody should have salt and pepper. You should have some sort of a nonstick release spray, whether it's Pam or avocado oil or both. Having that. Olive oil and avocado oil should always have that on hand. I do also have coconut oil in my pantry. That's another thing that's really great to have on hand. And then typical seasonings that you like. Avoid the blends, because the blends typically have sugar in them, believe it or not, and they usually have a lot of salt. And you can't control the salt that's in those seasoning blends. So I would say salt and pepper, obviously, garlic powder, onion powder, herby things like basil, oregano, thyme, parsley, maybe some Italian seasoning. That's a blend that doesn't usually have anything else in it except for the herbs there. I love tarragon and thyme, paprika, smoked paprika, chili powder, cumin, ground ginger, dry mustard. Like those to me are the ones that everybody should have in their pantry. On top of that, you can have other things that would be something that you would use quite a bit. I like to keep za'atar on hand because I use that on salmon all the time. That's not a really common ingredient, but I have a very well-stocked seasonings section on my pantry shelves. Lots of them because I do like to cook, and so I like to have a lot of different seasonings on hand. This time of year, cinnamon, nutmeg, clove, those types of things if you're going to do baking for other people. But you might add a little bit of cinnamon and nutmeg to your oatmeal or something. And if you're counting condiments, then of course that counts. This round for me, I am not counting condiments, but I'm also not going overboard. I still really am not adding anything to my fuelings. I just don't count it in my lean ingredients when I make them for lots of reasons. But for me, I really don't think that that's going to make a whole lot of difference. Canned goods. Have tomatoes, different kinds of tomatoes, crushed tomatoes, diced tomatoes, tomato sauce, tomato paste, having coconut milk on hand, having broth on hand, so chicken broth, vegetable broth. You could do bouillon, but again, there's a lot of sodium in that. So I make my own broth. If you buy rotisserie chickens from Costco, first of all, $5, you can get at least 3 meals out of that chicken. And then take the carcass and throw it in the Instant Pot or the crock pot and cook it down, make some broth, and freeze it or can it. So yesterday I took our turkey carcass from the other day and I made broth with it all day Saturday. And then yesterday I canned 18 pints of turkey broth. So I've got that. It's going to last me for a while. But make that broth, freeze it, can it, and have that available as well. Those are all really great things. And because I have all of those things on hand, I am able to make my lean ingredients this week and not have to go to the grocery store at all, which is a plus because it was Black Friday and then the crazy weekend of shopping, and I try to avoid the grocery store at all costs. And I work the rest of the week, so going to the grocery store during the week, unless I go first thing in the morning, is just not happening. So I'm good to go this week. I am back on plan, but let's talk about what were the results for me for the choices that I made this last week. So let me show you what my results were for this week. So it was tough to get on the scale this morning and get the measuring tape out. Up 0.6 pounds, that's not bad. Up 1.5 inches, again, not bad. I'm not upset about it. If I look back to not last week, but even the week before, I'm still down below that. So I didn't undo everything that I did the week before. And back on today, next week is going to be a great week. I actually anticipate having a bigger loss this week just because I'm like getting myself back into fat burn. So we'll see. I don't know. I am kind of at the point right here of where I was, kind of where my body hung out for a little while before it started to gain again, where I just felt like I just could not get below this weight. So in another 3 or 4 pounds loss, then I'll be on the back side of that and heading in the right direction, I hope. So I'm still like mentally right here, kind of in limbo and just really not sure if this is all going to work or not. So stick with me. Let's see how this next week goes. And please, let me know in the comments if you have recipes you want me to try. I am going to try to get back in the kitchen and do some of those over the next couple of weeks and kind of share some lean and greens because I know you guys really like it when I do that. So leave me some comments, let me know, give me a thumbs up because you know how much I love those words of affirmation. And I hope that you guys will continue to make good choices for yourself, that you will do what is right for you and for your body, for your lifestyle, for your family. And no matter what you do, please live in the light.